Greetings, guys, and welcome to the Get Ripped Masterclass. I am your host, Coach Corey Armstrong, aka Ripped Ross, aka Buff, Bald, and Bearded. So glad to have you guys here. The reason you're watching this video is we're going to talk today about the 3 proven secrets to finally get that beach body you've always wanted. Now, you may be watching this screen right now wondering, who the hell are you and why are you qualified to even give me information about getting a beach body? Corey, well, I'm glad you asked. As you can see, you got that flabby stomach on the left side of the screen and you got that ripped belly on the right side of the screen. And in case you haven't guessed it by now, that's me, right? That's me. I'm qualified to give you this information because I'm a living and walking testimony of it. But not only that, I've been in this game coaching people for about 6 years, and I've helped a lot of guys. A lot of guys get summer ready. You can see a wide array of different shapes, sizes, and physiques. Big shout out to my guy to the far left, Steven Smith from Detroit, Michigan, my hometown. He got ripped after the age of 50, which is very impressive after losing 20 pounds on the program. But, maybe you don't want to be all ripped up. Maybe you just want a flat stomach like my guy Jerome Tripp from Atlanta, Georgia. He's to the right of Steve. And as you can see, man, he was walking around looking all pregnant, right? Looking like he had male pregnancies. He was about to pop. But then he got on my program and, flat stomach. We're actually working on shaping and sculpting his body a little bit more. But as you can see, very effective for him. Maybe you want to be like my guy, Alec Nerswitz from Waterford, Michigan, who just the same as Jerome. He had that flabby midsection. We trimmed him up, right? He's looking like a whole new man, walking around, sporting a whole new body. Or maybe you want to be, like my guy, Edwin Rush from Atlanta, Georgia, far right, as you can see, trimmed up his whole midsection. He's got the nice V cut, right? Got the pants hanging low just to let people know he out here getting it in. He's looking more ripped and defined and more confident than ever. But guys, I don't want you to feel like it's just for the fellas, because I have the ladies too. So big shout out to the ladies here. And one of the things that I hear a lot from the ladies is they want to get what's called snatched, right? If you're not familiar with the lingo and or not a millennial, right? Snatched means, hey, trim the waistline in, lose the gut, keep the butt. And I do specialize in that as well. If you look to the far left, my girl Jalen Garrison from Detroit, Michigan, another one from my hometown. Big shout out to Detroit in the building. You can see she got the waist beads going and they've dropped substantially because her waistline dropped substantially. She lost over 15 pounds on the program and got beach ready. Or maybe, you just want to be like my girl, Jackie Rosanos from Los Angeles, California. She's got that trim waistline and it's actually curving in. I thought this was really impressive that we was able to do this. And what was important to her was, not only that, but she wanted to sit up more upright, better posture, still had a nice, cuff around her legs and her butt. We was able to do that. We was able to do the same thing from our girl, Monique Maloney from Warren, Michigan. You see, we trimmed her waistline down, got her standing up straighter, got some more thickness on them thighs. And then, we was even able to help my girl, Vanessa Cosme from Orlando, Florida. After having 2 kids, she really struggled a lot with her midsection. And after getting on my program, we trimmed 20 pounds off of her. She's looked more tight and toned as ever. She even told me she's looking better than she did before the kids. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I do. And I want you guys to know that, I really want to teach you what this is all about, what this lifestyle is all about. I want to know if you had, the right training program, the right nutrition plan, and consistent motivation, like, do you believe you could do the same? Right? That's the question I pose to you, right? Because I know it may feel hopeless right now. It may feel like, man, those guys did it, and that's impressive, but I don't know if I can too. And I'm here to tell you guys, you can do it too, right? My goal today is to actually show you how to get a flat stomach and muscle definition without gimmicks or fad diets, and then do it without ever getting fat all over again. Now, if you're excited about that, get your notebooks out, right? Get your pen and pad. Stop the video if you're not sitting down somewhere where you can take notes, and sit your ass down, take some notes. Coach Corey is about to break the whole game down. So if you ready, you know what I'm saying? If you hype like my man Triple H right now, let's get right into it. So before we get into the nuts and bolts of this, I gotta let you guys know again, I'm a living testimony, right? This all started with me. And it started with me actually being really, really skinny. Back in late middle school, early high school days, man, I was a super skinny guy, frail, unconfident, lack self-esteem, shell of myself. And at that period in my life, man, I would never go for it. I would never take risks. I would constantly get overlooked by, everyone, really, and it was one of those things where I didn't really feel like I was myself. And I would hide behind, my body in these big ass clothes, right? As you can see me looking like a Detroit gangster kid nerd with this big shirt on and this pout, right? That's because I was internally unhappy and I was trying to hide myself from the world. And I would launch into escapism. I'm not gonna get too deep into that part of my story, but just know, I wasn't feeling good about who I was as a man, or as a young man, I should say. And this kind of attitude of like, not being confident, not having self-esteem, kind of struggling with who I was. And it carried over into later years of my life, into college. And man, I really thought to myself, man, if I get my body right, you know, what else could I do? Right. If I was able to get lean, if I was able to get muscular, right? If I was able to look strong, if I was able to, turn some heads when I walk in the room, what else could I do? Right. And that thought kind of stuck with me. I first started working out a little bit at home, doing like push-ups and sit-ups. I was really inspired. Funny story about that movie 300. I remember watching that as a kid. And I went home and did like my first 100 push-ups and sit-ups. For y'all that don't know what 300 is, it's like all these Spartan warriors killing each other. You know what I'm saying? It's like every young man's dream to be ripped, aesthetic, with no shirt on, killing people, right? So that was my inspiration. And that kind of lit the fire under me. I would do like little stuff, like I said, push-ups and sit-ups at home. But obviously that's not enough to put on a bunch of muscle, right? And then, you know, fast forward to college years, I started working out at the rec center with lifting weights with friends, just kind of winging it though, never really having a plan. I would look at workouts and like, muscle and fitness, and actually start hopping on YouTube looking at workouts and whatnot. But still not really seeing lots of changes. I remember also too going all in on this program called Insanity by this guy named Shanti. Shanti is this ripped bald dude who does a bunch of home workout video programs. So he does Insanity, the what is it, the T25, the hip hop abs. You guys have probably seen him before, right? And I thought because of the way that he looked, if I did his home workout program, I would look like him, not realizing that that's not the program that he did to look that way. You know what I'm saying? So it was one of those things. I did that program twice, and I barely saw a difference, right? I didn't see much of anything. But I went through it and I proved to myself that I could do it. So I kind of knew from those instances of starting and going through programs in college that, if I stick to the right thing, right, I can make this happen. But I just didn't know what the right thing was. And so, off and on with it a few years, fast forward, graduate college, tragedy strikes. One of my best friends that I went to high school with passes away. And this shook my paradigm. Like, it shook my whole world. This girl, she was 22. I was 23 at the time. And it hit me hard for two reasons. One, it really hit me hard because, like, I had never seen somebody around my age group that I was actually close to pass away. You know what I'm saying? So for somebody that young to be, taken away from us, it was demoralizing. It shook my paradigm completely. And then the other thing was, man, I thought I was gonna marry this girl one day. This girl was somebody who we actually dated in high school, my sophomore year. And, long story short, man, I was too immature for her, and it kind of ended, but we kept it friends. And I always kind of thought like, when I get my life together, right? When I grow up, when I become a man, like I'm gonna come back and make her an honest woman, and never got that opportunity. She got taken away from us so young. She died from sickle cell anemia. And what this did, I remember being in the funeral service, and I'm hearing them talk about her, and they're just expressing like how much she was doing in the community and the type of woman that she was and all these different things. And I remember asking myself, man, why are they not talking about all the big goals that she had for herself? Because she had some really, really big goals that she would talk to me about. And then it dawned on me, it clicked. They're not talking about that because a lot of them don't know about that. And they don't know about it because she never got to live that out, right? She never got to live that out. And so she had all these dreams, these goals, this potential within her. She never got to live it out. And I just thought about myself. I said, man, what if that were me? Like, what if I had all these dreams, goals, aspirations, and potential within me, and I never got to live it out? What would they say about me at my funeral service? Right. And as I started to process that and think about it at the tender age of 23, I didn't like the answers that I was getting back. Right. I didn't feel like I had done anything of substantial value to other people. And I didn't like that because I felt like I had more to give. And at the end of it all, I want them to say at my funeral, man, Corey, he contributed to me immensely in this way, that way, and that way. And so when I started thinking about that, like that, guys, what happened was I started to take my life more seriously for the first time. I started to really look at life like we're not guaranteed tomorrow. It don't matter if I'm 23, 35, or even 50. I'm not guaranteed it tomorrow. Nobody is. And because of that, I got to start taking my life more seriously. And I told myself, I'm not going to waste my life. I'm going to live my life each day with intent because she never got a chance to. And so that's what started my personal growth phase. And so really, I just started spending every day aiming to become a better version of me, the best version of me, in fact. And I wanted to start with what I had the most control over, which was my body. Right. So I wanted to really get serious about this physique. I had been chasing it for many years, but never, came to any type of, substantial change. And so I started digging online as to why. I started reading, blogs like bodybuilding.com, and, I started going on YouTube, and I started, picking up all the fitness magazines and trying all the things and just finding out that there was a big component I was missing: nutrition. I was working out a lot. I was doing a lot of different programs, and I had never considered, man, what you eat is 80% of the battle. That determines your visible results, right? So I went on this journey to say, all right, let me increase my calories because I found out what calories were, and let me lift these weights, build some muscle, because that was the whole goal, right? And if I do that long enough, hard enough, pause, man, I should build a lot of muscle, right? Well, that's partially true. I actually got fat. All right. So what happened, guys, was I went on what's called a dirty bulk. And that's when you go to build muscle, right? But you do it by increasing your calories with all the wrong foods, right? So I wasn't considering, different foods carry different nutrients that have different value to my body. I was just like, I'm trying to eat everything in sight and lift the weights and get as strong as possible, right? So I did that for a whole year. And on the other side of it, I got fat, So this fat picture of me is in 2015. As I mentioned, my best friend passed at the end of 2014. And 2015, I just hopped on this train. And this is from January 2015 to like January 2016, I was looking fat like this. And it was really harping on me, man. It was bringing down my life, my quality of life in a big way. I felt lethargic, tired, sleepy all the time. I'll be running out of breath, going up and down the stairs, wheezing and breathing all hard. I didn't wear a lot of my clothes because I couldn't fit a lot of them anymore. And in addition to that, there's only one picture of me fat like this, and that's this one. I don't have a lot of pictures of me fat. Oh, and the one from the beginning, but that, other than that, there's very few pictures of me all fat because I was so ashamed. I wasn't going to social gatherings. I wasn't taking pictures. I took a year off social media because I just didn't like the way that I looked. It was really starting to psychologically mess with me. I kind of went into a shell of myself, started to feel depressed a lot. And one other thing too was it was discouraging because like people around me would ask me questions like, yo, do you still work out? Even though I was working out 6 days a week, people couldn't tell because I had gotten so fat, and it was messing with me, and I was just like, you know what? I did this to put on muscle. I put on too much size, If I just give you guys my stats, that skinny picture of me, I was somewhere around maybe like 165. I got all the way up to 230 pounds in this fat picture. So a lot of mass on my frame in a short period of time, not in the right ways, and I said, yo, I gotta do something different. So I started studying some more. I came across some different techniques and strategies and things, and I'm gonna share with you guys today. And within 5 months, I was able to get ripped, top of 2016, as I mentioned, I was 230 pounds. In this far right picture, you see 180 pounds lean. I was able to get there within 5 months, right? So if you want to learn, how I lost 50 pounds, 5 months, got lean, got muscular, got the muscle definition, stick around. We're going to get it right into it. All right. So the Ripped AF model is what we're going to talk about today. Ripped AF stands for the Ripped Advanced Fat Burner Model. I know what you thought it was meaning, but it means advanced fat burner for the purposes of this. All right. So, a lot of guys come to me and they say, hey, Corey, I want to have more energy. I want to be able to be more productive at work. I want to be able to, be more focused to attack my other goals that I have outside of my career. I want to be able to keep up with my kids. I want to be able to, take my lady out more often. I want to be able to go out and date and be social and have the energy to be able to, do these things without, feeling all tired and gassed all the time. I hear that so much. And I want to talk about how to get that today. I also want to talk about sustainability because I hear guys tell me all the time that, it's important to get a routine, get a structure to where they know what they're supposed to put in their body, or they understand, what kind of formula for workouts works for them, because they're tired of being in this hamster wheel, this roller coaster ride of up and down with weight. They want to just stick to it and have something that they can go to for the rest of their lives and really say, look, this gets me results. This is my lifestyle. This is part of who I am. But more importantly, teach it to the people around them too, right? Because if you got sustainable results, man, imagine what that means for your family, for your friends, for your community. It does a lot, and it says a lot in the way of being the example, that you want to put out there. And so there's that, but then there's health, the health, a lot of guys come to me with different health implications like high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, even, sleep apnea and things like that. And, they want to be able to overcome those things and have the freedom of knowing that like they're able to live a high quality life without medication, without being, tied to, these regular doctor visits all the time, without living in fear that, they could croak at any point in time, knowing that they get to actually live a life where they can be around for their family long term. You know what I'm saying? So, at the epicenter of this all, you get all three of these, you get what we call ripped confidence. Now, don't go Google that, because ripped confidence is a Corey Armstrong exclusive, okay? And ripped confidence basically just means, this is the high level of confidence, the highest level of confidence where, if you think about, imagine the guy who walks into a room with a tailor fit suit on, right? And you can see, right? You can see his muscles, his physique underneath, the fabric without him even having a shirt off, the type of energy that guy exudes when he walks into the room, the type of respect that he gets when people look at him and say, oh, he's disciplined. He goes after it. He does the hard things. Like, that's what most people want. And that's what I'm going to teach you guys here today. Ripped confidence to me is just all about embodying excellence, in all that you do, not just with your health and fitness, but also, in your career, also with your finances, with your family, being the embodiment physically, mentally, and spiritually of just excellence, peak performance. That's what Ripped Confidence is all about, maximizing your potential. And that's what we're going to talk about today. If you're excited, you know what I'm saying? I hope you got your pens ready. We're about to get into it. Let me take a little sip of water real quick. All right. So essentially, it comes down to these three things that create Ripped Confidence. There are different ingredients that create them. So when you think about, what creates these things, we got to start with nutrition, right? And my nutrition strategy is called the Amplified Macro Fasting Method. Now, you're not going to find this again on Google. It's Corey Armstrong Fitness exclusive. And it's very important to recognize nutrition is 80% of the battle. We're going to dive deeply into that and what that means. We also need to talk about training, because training is what's going to influence how your body actually looks. And my training method is called the Hybrid Muscle Matrix. Now, again, don't go Google that, right? You're not going to find it. Not yet, at least. That is a Corey Armstrong Fitness exclusive, as well as strong discipline, right? Having strong discipline, what it really means to be congruent with the things that you say you're going to do, and doing the hard things, even when you don't feel like it, like being disciplined. And so you got to have all three to get to what it is that you want at that epicenter. Because if you got the nutrition and the training, yeah, you're going to have energy, right? But you're not going to have the sustainability and the health. If you got the training and the strong discipline, as you can see, you're going to be healthy, right? But you ain't going to have the energy and sustainability, right? And then if you got the nutrition and the strong discipline, yeah, it's sustainable, but then the energy and the healthy part is missing, right? So you need all three in equal amounts to be able to be the one that has Ripped confidence, that's able to reach their full potential. All right. So let's talk about how to get it. Nutrition. You got to know your macros. We're going to talk more about that in a second. We're also going to incorporate intermittent fasting here, right? And I'm going to dive deeply into what that is, what it means, and how you do it, and refeed days as well. Some of you guys will be really excited about that, because in the streets, they call that cheat day, right? And we're going to talk about how to do cheat days the right way. And then you got full body training for the hybrid muscle matrix, but we also do HIIT, which stands for high intensity interval training, as well as NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, right? So all those three are the hybrid muscle matrix. As it counts to strong discipline, you build that through tracking results, a proven plan, and massive accountability. So we're going to dive deeply into each of these individually. Let's get into it. So knowing your macros. Now, some of you may or may not know what macros are. Macros are short for macronutrients, and macronutrients are the foundational building block of all calories. So when you think about foods, all of your foods are made up of a macro, and there's three of them. There is protein, fats, and carbohydrates, or carbs for short. Each of them has a job in the body. Protein repairs and retains muscle fibers. Fats are for general health, to keep it simple, right? And then also for hormone production, right? And then if we look at carbs, they are your instant energy source. And as we look at these three, what's interesting is people understand these things and that they're in your foods, but they don't understand how much you need for each. With whatever your goal is, whether it's to build muscle or lose fat, you need each three of these in different amounts in association with that goal. And if you do not have that information and you're not hitting your results that you want, this is exactly why. It's exactly why. I like to tell people that the three macros are like three legs to a stool. If any one of those legs is pulled out from the stool or out of balance, one is longer than the other or shorter, you don't have a stool anymore, right? You don't have a stool. You can't sit down on that. That's not a solid foundation. And if you don't have a foundational understanding of your macros and how much you need of each, that's probably why you fail right now, but we want to help you overcome that. What I'm saying, I don't want you to suffer through that anymore. And in fact, I want you to also understand, like, all diet strategies stem from macros, and macros foundationally stem from calories. So when you think about foods in general, it's all measured in calories, which is the energy source that we measure food in. But when you break down calories down to, their components, their most prominent components is macronutrients. So the amount of, protein, carbs, fats determines the calories. But your macros, or the ratio at which you consume these macros, you're going to want to have a specific diet strategy associated around that. And most of you listening to this are just winging it. That's the biggest problem that you're having. And I know that because I had the same problem. I was just winging it. I just was eating what I felt like eating at that day, or worse, I was making what they call healthy choices. And healthy choices, if you don't have the results that you want, it's a stupid decision to make healthy choices, because you don't know what healthy choices are. If you did, you wouldn't be out of shape, right? So I know that that's what it was for me. And for some of you, it's probably the same thing. Also understand, like, all diet strategies are just a manipulation of macros. So keto, the vegan diet, Paleolithic diet, everything is a different way to manipulate your macros. That's all it is. So if you learn the macros, you can incorporate strategies that work for you as an individual, because what work for me will work for the next person, will work for Joe Schmo. It may not be the same thing that works for you, but it's important to understand how many calories you need for your goal, and then the macros as it stands as a science, so that you can essentially just have a strategy that you can go to and sustain long term. And this is something that I talked to my guy Antonio Briggs, Nashville, Tennessee. He came to me, and his biggest thing was he had no structure to his diet, right? Antonio was just winging it. He was out here training hard, but eating any and everything with no strategy. And, it led to him being stagnant. He was stagnant in his journey. And essentially, he was really starting to get discouraged, because he was doing workouts 5 to 6 days a week, stuff from bodybuilding.com, stuff from YouTube, stuff from everywhere. And he knew he was strong, right? He could see his numbers going up in the gym, but his body wasn't changing. It didn't matter how much strength training and cardio he did. He was still out here looking flabby, and he was starting to feel discouraged. Like, why am I even doing this? And then that's when, he got in contact with me. We put together a program for him based around his macros. And, I taught him everything about it. And, it got to a point where, obviously, as you can see here, he was able to lose 35 pounds, 12 weeks, and he got ripped. Now he's on Instagram and Facebook with his shirt off every day, not just some days, every day. You know what I'm saying? And, it's obviously got him way more confident. He's got the energy. He's the inspiration to his family. His mom, his friends, all these people, they're actually starting their journey because of him, because he was that beacon of hope for them, and that they could actually make a change too. And he's out here attacking bigger goals. He decided that he was going to go back to school and pursue, higher level education, because he built so much discipline and built his body. He's figured, why not, man? Now that I have this, I could do anything, right? I could do anything. And that's what I want to encourage you guys with. If you can conquer you can do anything, man. You can do anything. Let's get into the next amplified macro fasting method. We got intermittent fasting. Now, intermittent fasting is not a diet. Intermittent fasting, in fact, is a eating pattern. It's essentially when you restrict your calories to a specific window of time in the day, and you say, hey, I'm not going to eat the other hours of the day. And there's multiple different ways to do it. But what's great about it is intermittent fasting utilizes your body's natural hormones to accelerate fat loss, health, and wellness. Our bodies were actually designed to go through periods of time where we're fed and when we're fasted. That's why we actually store fat, because from an evolutionary standpoint, I'm sorry, we were designed to store fat because our ancestors didn't have refrigerators. They didn't have freezers and microwaves and shit. So they had to store energy for long periods of time for when they wouldn't have food. So let's say they kill a woolly mammoth, for example, and they eat the entire mammoth. They can't store like the leftovers in the fridge like us, right? So they got to be able to live off the energy supply from that woolly mammoth for a few days. So the body came up with this solution to just store lots and lots and lots of energy once we hit an overflow of energy, and that's body fat. So intermittent fasting utilizes that by putting us back in touch with our natural sort of progression of evolution, where we can now utilize that stored energy as fat. And fasting is it's used in all different cultures for different reasons. And the intermittent fasting strategy has been popularized over the past few decades, more so for health and wellness perspectives. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So this is how the process works, right? You eat food, and after you eat food, in that 0 to 12-hour loop without food, your body's burning through what we call glycogen. Now, glycogen is what your body converts food into and stores within the muscles for immediate and rapid energy throughout the day. That way you don't have to keep eating, and it can still keep its body fat. But your glycogen stores are limited. So the amount of glycogen your body can hold has a limitation, and it's different for different people depending on the size of their muscles and how active they are and all those things. And once your body burns through glycogen, like I said, it's between 0 and 12 hours. This is usually when you start to get that hungry feeling that people experience. Then within the 12 to 24-hour period, it starts to burn through fat for fuel. And this is a process called ketosis, where it converts fat into energy, right? Creates ketone bodies, and that supplies energy to the brain and to your body. And so this is what really the keto diet popularizes, is putting you in a state of ketosis where you burn fat for fuel. But I mean, you could just fast and do the same thing and not give up carbs. You know what I'm saying? So this is, in my opinion, this is better, right? Some people will fight against me on that, but I think this is better. And then autophagy, where your body actually kills off dead cells after the 24-hour point. So a lot of different diseases, cancer being one of them, actually stem from a lot of like dead cells in the body, pretty much not having a purpose. And autophagy helps with that by allowing your body to kill off those dead cells and like actually repair itself. The body's designed, guys, to heal itself. You just got to give it that time to do it. And a lot of the processes that we sort of block off by constantly feeding ourselves and not allowing our digestive system time to rest. A lot of diseases that we have in modern society, especially obesity related diseases, stem from that. So essentially, this is like giving your body a restart. A lot of people talk about detoxes and cleanses and shit, but like all you got to do is just stop eating and your body detoxes and cleanses itself, right? So this is great for just not fat loss, but also overall health and wellness. There's several different methods. I'm not going to go too deep into all of them. I don't want to make this video too long, but essentially one of the most popular is lean gains method, which is 16-8. This is where you fast for 16 hours and you eat 8 hours of the day, right? There's other methods like the warrior method, 20 hours on, 20 hours fasted, 4 hours eating. You got OMAD, which is 1 meal a day. Fast all day and just consume 1 meal. And then you got eat, stop, eat. And this is where you fast for 24 hours of the day for like at least 1 day out of the week, and the other 6 days you eat. There's several other different methods, but these are the most popular. And intermittent fasting was something that I taught to my client, Tammy Peters from Riverview, Michigan, who she was struggling big time with her health. She had got to the doctor and she was getting a bunch of scares with everything related to her cholesterol and whatnot. And pretty much the doctors didn't have any solutions for her that she felt like she could sustain. They were offering her pill after pill and telling her she had to go on like these crazy low fat diets and basically give up whole food groups. And she just didn't see that that would be something sustainable. And it was really started to impact her from not only the standpoint of just health, but emotionally, she felt like she was, in a box where she was going to have to be tied to these pills and these doctor visits for the rest of her life. And that's not something that she wanted to do. In her 50s, she kind of got to the point where she wanted to start to enjoy the fruits of her labor over the years. She had, built a lovely family and her husband and whatnot. And she wanted to start to like really live out some of her other dreams that she hadn't pursued yet, but she knew she had to get her health together or else she wouldn't be able to, live long enough to see those things. And she contacted me and, we just talked about what would be optimal for her. After hearing her story and some of the things, I told her, listen, you got to make a lifestyle change. And what it's going to incorporate is you just getting your hormones right. You allowing your body to do what it's supposed to do and detoxify itself and, really optimize your body's capability to burn through fat and not constantly trying to feed it all of these things that's blocking it from actually being able to do that. And I broke down intermittent fasting to her. We talked about some other methods like strength training, NEAT, which we're going to get to later. And she was able to lose over 100 pounds. As you can see, she's a whole new woman, right? And it's just changed her whole life. She's way more confident. She's an inspiration to everybody in her life, her friends, her family. So many people have started their journey after seeing her do it. And not only that, she was able to get off all her medication. Way different wardrobe. I mean, bar none. She's a new woman, and she's kind of reinvigorated and enjoying life in the new way that she never got a chance to before. And that's what this is all about, like living a high quality life. But as we talk about living, we got to talk about eating again, because y'all love food, and I know it because I love food, right? So refeed. When we talk about refeed days, I want to be sort of specific in that a refeed is a way of saying cheat day, but it's in a structured way. So I have this philosophy, right? I say cheaters do win, right? And it's one of those things where you got to understand that yes, there is some merit to having a high calorie day within the week, but it's got to be structured, right? You got to have a reason behind it. You can't just go wild and out. So this is how fat loss works. When you lower your calories, you lose fat. But when you lose fat, you lower leptin. Leptin is a hormone in the body strongly associated with fat loss. And when leptin is low, you stop losing fat. Now, why is leptin lower when you lose fat? Because leptin is in fat cells. So as fat cells shrink, you have less leptin, which means less fat burning. So what you want to do is respike your leptin, right? Well, how do you do that, Coach Corey? You got to increase your calories, baby. Give yourself a high calorie day in a structured way, and that could be to your advantage. What I suggest is you stagger your calories throughout the week like this. This is what we call calorie undulation. This is a very sophisticated method. I usually teach it to my clients after they've been in the program for a while. But basically, if you have different amounts of calories throughout the week, it's actually impossible for you to plateau, right? Because your body can't go into what's called adaptive thermogenesis. Adaptive thermogenesis is when your metabolism slows down to match the amount of calories you give it every day. So if you're on the same calories every single day for an extended amount of time, your body's going to know what's up, and it's going to say, hey, we don't want to burn any more fat, right? We want to keep what we got, and it's going to slow down its metabolism to make that happen. But when you do this, when you stagger the amount of calories that you give your body throughout the week, you actually make it to where it's impossible for your body to adapt. So we do this in my program in a way where it's more structured. Now, it's not like this sophisticated unless the person's advanced, but this is just an example to show you, like, you want to give your body varying degrees of calories. You don't want to make it too predictable, especially when you have a lot of weight to lose. And this is something that, I talked to my client, Ramil Reed from Dearborn, Michigan. Ramil was going through it, man. He was really big. He was massively overweight, as you can see. And it was starting to really, mess with his energy. He was he was going after some loftier goals in his career, but he noticed that, he put on a lot of weight during the COVID lockdown, and he was sluggish, he was lethargic. He wasn't wearing many of his outfits because he couldn't fit them anymore. He's kind of wearing the same sweats all the time. And it was one of those things where, he noticed that it was not only affecting him there, but it was affecting his ability to like really like go after things. Like he would always say he's going to do something, but then fall off, right? He wasn't that disciplined. He was starting to get lazy. And he knew that if he continued to do that, man, he would always stagnate and not reach his higher goals. And that was the conversation that we had. We was like, if you get you together, right? You master yourself, then you can master anything. But his biggest concern was, look, how do I do this and still like make it a lifestyle? Because being on this clean eating for the rest of my life, I don't really see that being realistic. I bake foods. I love these things. I say, hey, man, don't you worry about it, man. Let me teach you about these refeed days, right? So we structured a game plan for him where, 6 days of the week, he ate really clean around the foods that he liked. And then on the 7th day, he had his favorite foods, but we did it in a structured way. Gave him a calorie target to hit. He had his pizza, his cake, his cookies, all that stuff he liked to bake. And, as you can see, man, within 50 pounds, following his method, within 16 weeks, he lost 50 pounds, So that's 4 months. And he lost weight faster than me. He broke my record. My record was 50 pounds in 5 months. He did it in 4, And that was just based off, obviously, following the protocol, staying consistent, but just doing something that fit his lifestyle, right? And it was something that, he noticed, obviously, he could get more, out of his day because he was more energized, but he was inspiring people around him to do more. And, he had a higher quality of life because of it. But not only that, man, he got a bunch of promotions after that. I'm talking, he went from store manager to managing the whole region, in the career that he had, and it was all because he optimized himself. He put himself in peak performance, Okay, wrapping things up, guys. Full body training is the hybrid muscle matrix secret #1. And to talk about training, I'm not going to go too deep into this. Just understand that there's 5 keys to building muscle, right? You got volume, which is sets, reps, and weight. Frequency, which is how often you train a muscle. Intensity, which is how difficult it is for you. Tempo, that's the speed that you're doing the repetitions. And the rest, right, which is the time in between sets. And so what you want is a program that incorporates all of these in just varying different ways to challenge your body in different ways. Most programs, like those bro splits where you train one muscle group a week and you're doing back day, then you got chest day, then you got leg day. Y'all seen them, right? Those programs do not optimize half of the things here. They don't optimize frequency. Sometimes they don't optimize rest periods and intensity. So you leave a lot of your muscle progression and gains on the table. And because of that, you might lose some weight, but then you lose muscle too, because you're not training your muscles to stay or to grow, And so I see this all too often. I actually struggle with it because I didn't train myself this way for a while. And, understanding like full body training is one of the only ways to like actually optimize and get the most out of all of these if you do it correctly. When you do it the right way, you can build a lot of muscle, you can get a lot of definition, you build a lot of strength. And this is how you never plateau again, guys. Again, I'm not going to go too deep into this, but you want to have varying different phases. And phases is just how many sets and reps you do in your. Sorry, I had the water break again. But you want to have varying different rep ranges. These are called phases. Okay, so phases is pretty much where you have a specific intent for a set amount of weeks of how many repetitions you're going to get for each movement. And each movement changes your body in a different way. So when you're training 1 to 8 reps, this is what power lifters do. This optimizes what's called central nervous system adaptation, which is just getting your body stronger, getting your body better at moving weight. 8 to 15 reps, that range is for building more muscle mass. So this is for, increasing the size of your muscles. You may have heard the term hypertrophy. If you a nerd, if you not a fitness nerd, you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, right? That's increasing the size and mass of your muscles, or maybe endurance, which is working in that rep range of 15 to 20 reps. And this is where you get what's called the pump, right? Sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. This is something that, man, people love, training this way. I like it sometimes. You get a good pump, your heart rate's up, you look more inflated, and there's some muscle building benefits there. It's good cardiovascular training as well. So you want to cycle between these. Every 3 to 4 weeks, you should be going into another phase. But most people don't do that, right? And I know that because I didn't do it. And my guy, Angelo Lee from Sweetland, Maryland, he didn't do it either, right? He was doing the same workouts every single time that he went to the gym. And what happened? Nothing. He wasn't making no progress, right? He was out here looking like melted ice cream, as you can see on the left picture. And, it was really discouraging for him because he felt like he was training hard, right? He felt like his diet was on point, but his body wasn't changing, right? And he really just wanted to give up on this whole fitness thing and just blame it on genetics and just tell himself, hey, maybe my body isn't meant to look this way, right? And then he obviously reached out to me, and I told him, listen, man, you gotta phase your workouts. You gotta give your body something new to adapt to. You can't give it the same old thing. And once we kind of went through his protocol and I built him something specifically for his needs, and I taught him everything about full body training and how we phase programs. As you can see, man, he was able to lose 25 pounds of fat, right? This was in 16 weeks, by the way, and looks like a whole new man. He got ripped, got muscular, way more confident, and he's pursuing some higher level goals in his career, and even went to go get his doctorate's degree. That's just because he mastered himself, right? Let's move on. Also, hit cardio, right? Boring basic cardio is not the best form of cardio. What do I mean by that? I mean jogging, the steady, the jogging, the walk, like the speed walking, like that's not optimal for fat loss. Let's talk about why. Because when you look at cardio, there's 3 different forms of it. Each of them has their own purpose, but people think that the middle one, which is moderate intensity, steady state cardio, is the best for burning fat. That's what most people do. They go for runs. But here's the thing. When you do this, you burn more calories than walking in comparison, but you also lose muscle. And what happens when you lose muscle? Slower metabolism. You out here looking flabby and frail, and you risk actually gaining the weight back and getting even fatter. So when people come to me talking about doing a bunch of cardio and they can't understand why they're not losing weight, this is why. You're training your body to get bad at losing fat and get good at only burning carbohydrates for fuel. That's what you're training your body to do. You're burning carbs, you ain't burning fat, right? So that's, I just kind of broke down why you shouldn't do the middle one if you want to lose fat. Now, if you running a marathon, you're doing a 5K or something, then do that. You know what I'm saying? But like, don't do it if your goal is fat loss. The best two are low intensity steady state, LISS. We're gonna get to that later. But high intensity interval training is what I teach to optimize fat loss. It's the most efficient because you can burn the same amount of calories hour of running. You can burn that in 15, 20 minutes of doing high intensity interval training, and you preserve muscle if you do it the right way. Now, I said the right way because the con of this is you do risk injury. Some people injure themselves all the time in them hit boot camps and whatnot. And it's because they're not doing it right. They're not doing it at the level that they're at. They're not doing it within the frame of what's good for their body, right? So let's just kind of talk about this a little bit because it looks real simple in practice. Example would be maybe biking, rowing, or sprinting. You do 30 seconds of work and maybe you rest for 60 seconds, right? But that work is all out exertion. It's all you can give. So you sprint as hard as you can for 30 seconds and then rest for 60 seconds. Or you bike as hard as you can, right? Or you rest for 60 seconds, or you roll as much as you can, you rest for 60 seconds. These numbers don't matter It's the fact that you have full exertion for a period and then you either coast or rest. That's what it's about, right? And the overall period max should be 20 to 25 minutes, no more than that. The frequency, like you want to pick a certain window of time for the week. That's very individual, but like you want to base your hit off like how much like time of hit for the week that you can handle. I'd have to talk to you to tell you what that number should be for you. But essentially, hit is the best. And this is something that I taught to my guy Mirhi Chikini from Dolo Adadado. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Dolo Ado, Ethiopia. My guy, came to me looking skinny fat, looking all flabby, and he didn't know what to do. He had felt like he tried everything on YouTube and on bodybuilding.com and nothing was working. And he came to me and, we talked about hit cardio. We talked about, doing full body training. We talked about how his diet should look. And, after really getting good at doing hit cardio multiple days a week, man, as you can see, he was able to lose 22 pounds in 4 months. He's got his abs. He's smiling, right? This is a great picture because the contrast is clear. He was unhappy. Now he's very happy, confident, healthy, feels like the best version of himself, last but not least in the muscle matrix, we got non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Now, you see these people walking, that's what it is. It's walking. It's tracking your steps. And the reason why I encourage people to do NEAT is several different reasons. You can burn up to thousands more calories a day without even exercising. So this is just parking your car at the end of the parking lot at the grocery store or the mall and walking to the door, or this is taking the stairs instead of elevator, or this is incrementally putting little 15-minute walks within your day. That's what I do. It maintains muscle while you strip away fat. But not only that, studies have proven that walking throughout the day increases cognitive function, productivity, and happiness. So wouldn't you like to lose fat, get better brain power, more productivity so you can make more money and be happier? Come on, man. It don't get no better than that. And this is what I taught to my guy, James McNeely from Atlanta, Georgia. He came to me with all kinds of health issues, everything from, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. He had celiac disease, so he was actually going blind. He had all different types of aches, pains, injuries, and inflammation, things that were really deterring him. And it was messing up everything from his day-to-day life. He barely had any energy. He couldn't fit his clothes. He was actually going through this and simultaneously going through a divorce. So it was really starting to affect, not only how he felt about himself, but just his worldview. Like he just wasn't a happy person. He was depressed. And, he was really losing hope. Then, we talked, we set something up for him. I told him, listen, with all these different adversities that you have going on within your life, let's try a low barrier entry approach, because people don't know James is in his 50s. He's almost 60. And I taught him about nutrition. I taught him about workouts, but more importantly, we went heavily on NEAT. We had him walking 20,000 steps a day some days when he had the time to do it, soaking up that Atlanta sun. And what was able to happen was he was able to match my record. He lost 50 pounds in 5 months. He looks like a new man. He got his confidence back. He got a new boo, right? New job, new career. And he's just living his best life. He even started a TikTok where he's a fitness inspiration to other people over the age of 50. And that was all because he mastered himself first. That's what it's about. This is what Ripped Confidence is all about. This is what it can get you, Let's talk about discipline. So strong discipline is a key component in this. And what I tell people is you want to do what we call the fast track. And this is when you track your results. Tracking improves everything. If you're not tracking, you're slacking. A lot of what people associate victory with is results. But what they don't recognize is that if you only focus on results, you're never going to get them. And the reason you're not going to get them is because you're going to get either discouraged because they don't happen as fast as you want them to, or you're going to get inconsistent, right? You're going to get inconsistent. You get inconsistent at anything. That's the fast track to failure, right? And what I suggest to people and guys in the program, I say, listen, let's track everything that you do. And let's associate victory with doing the right habits every day. Because if you do the right habits every day, then winning is inevitable, right? But the problem most people face in their fitness journey, because it takes a long time to see fitness results, even though you saw these amazing numbers, like for most people, like it takes a while, you know, they're not tracking what they're doing. They're not tracking their workouts. They're not tracking, their food intake. They're not tracking their weight. They're not tracking, how many days of the week they actually went, or, what was in their weight, body fat versus muscle. Like they're just leaving everything up to chance and hoping that, it just gets better. Can't do that. You got to track everything. Anything that gets measured gets managed, right? And this is something that I taught to my client, Susanna Solar from Topolcany, Slovakia. She came into the program. She had been trying everything. She'd been doing extreme fasting for several days at a time. She had been doing a bunch of HIIT cardio, a lot of the things that I even talk about, right? But nonetheless, she had a body that she didn't like. You know what I'm saying? She didn't feel confident in the bikini. She didn't feel good in her skin. And she really felt like she could be doing so much better. And she knew that, it was something that if she didn't address, if she continued to stagnate after working this hard, she likely, not respect and appreciate herself as much. It was starting to affect her emotionally and mentally. And that's when she reached out to me. She said to me that she had been working so hard, but she just didn't know why she wasn't seeing change. And I told her, look, it's because you're not tracking anything. You're hoping that your hard work is enough. And what you need is a system to really actually get behind and focus on. That way you can start to build disciplines in the right areas that you may be missing it. And so what we did is we came up with a tracking system for nutrition, for exercise, and for her weekly weigh-ins. And as you can see, a complete body change within the first 4 weeks of the program. She's changed a lot ever since then. But what you see here is she lost 3 pounds, right? She was 154 pounds. She came down to 151, but she looks like a completely different human. Why is that? Well, it's because she lost 11 pounds of fat and gained 7.5 pounds of muscle. And we were able to see that because we were actually tracking her body fat percentage behind the scenes. As you can see at the bottom is, 33% down to 26% body fat. So she had literally gained muscle and she gained muscle and lost fat at the same time. And that's why the number on the scale isn't that impressive, but beneath the surface, you see a complete change. But you're not going to know that unless you're tracking. All right, let's talk about proven plan. You want to follow a method that's proven to work. And what a lot of guys do is they create their own plan. They just say, I know how to do this exercise, so I'm going to do it. Or I know how to run, so I'm going to run on the treadmill. Or I eat pretty good. Like I ask guys all the time, what's your diet like? And the number one answer by far is, oh, I eat pretty good. I'm pretty healthy, And that means nothing. That basically means that you don't have a game plan and you're just winging it, hoping that, you get good results because you eating things that people told you was healthy. But here's the thing, there's no proven method behind that madness. And I say madness because, if you're doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, that's insanity, right? So you need a plan, a method that is proven to get results, tried and true. And it's just something that I had to learn for myself. And it's also something I taught to my guy, Sean Hall from Alexandria, Virginia, because for him, he had always had structure when he was in the military. He had went through, obviously basic training, several decades ago, and he was in his best shape, but he had fallen off. The reason he fell off is because he didn't have the accountability, even though the discipline was there. And he didn't have a structure that he could go to and get results. And it just led to him winging it, doing a bunch of runs in the park and, eating what he thought was healthy. But I mean, as you can see, that healthy food had him all sloppy, right? And, it was affecting everything from, him not being able to fit his clothes no more to him recognizing that in his 50s now, like if he don't overcome this, like he's going to end up with some of the things his family members got, the diabetes, the high blood pressure, the high cholesterol, things like that. He didn't want that to be his story. So he decided to make a change. He reached out to me. We talked about a game plan for him. We put something together. And as you can see, he was able to shed 50 pounds, right? He's a new man. He's got a whole new wardrobe, and he's feeling and looking better than ever. And that's just because we got him on a game plan that worked. Last but not least, we got the massive accountability. Everything is better when someone is watching. Self accountability is probably the worst thing that you can do for yourself. If you are constantly falling off and inconsistent, it's because you're justifying your poor behavior, right? You're allowing yourself to convince yourself that you deserve things that you haven't earned, or that it's okay with mediocrity. And that's in fact what it is for most of us. Most of us accept comfort over actually pushing ourselves into discomfort to be better. And what happens is, you stay complacent and you don't get results. Well, that changes when you have what? Accountability. When somebody's watching you. Think about at work when your supervisor hits the room, or if you're the supervisor, when you walk into the room, how much better people perform because they're being watched. And that's congruent with everything. But a lot of you are holding other people accountable, right? You holding your friends, your family members, your employees, the people in your community accountable, but nobody's holding you accountable, right? And that's why you keep falling off. Nobody's holding you accountable in this area specifically. And that's why you're not sticking to it, right? And this is what I told my guy, Garth Williams from Miami, Florida. Garth was in charge of the financial division for a casino, right? So he was like the CFO of a big casino, and he actually got transferred around the different locations on a seasonal basis. So this guy was constantly on the go. He had a lot of responsibility and a lot of people he was responsible for. And yeah, man, he could get away with being out here, with the soft body, right? He wasn't dying, but internally he was, because he knew he could be doing so much better. He has so much untapped potential, and he knew for whatever reason he wasn't able to reach it because he kept just getting lazy. He kept putting it off. He kept procrastinating, and he blamed it on motivation, but I told him, I said, bro, no, you're not consistent because you don't have no accountability. You holding yourself accountable, and that never works. And so that's when we joined forces. I put together a plan for him, nutrition workouts, and I hold him accountable every single day, making sure that he was doing what he was supposed to do, and that he was staying consistent and reporting in and making sure that, things were going, the way we planned. And, as you can see, man, this guy's looking like an underwear model now. So he got all ripped up. He's got abs now. He's more lean than he's ever been in his life. And the guy, I mean, he's always shirtless on the gram, always shirtless on Facebook, always, inspiring the people in his family and friends to level up too, and that's because he mastered himself first. So recap, guys, with the proper training and nutrition plan, and strong discipline, you can get that beach body too, right? You can do it too. Now, if you want help with that, you can book a shred session with me at CoreyArmstrongFitness.com/coaching. If you're watching this, you might already have that set up. So I'm excited to talk more with you. And come ready with questions, because I will answer them. All right, guys. Peace.